another unboxing video with a band I've been wanting to cover for a long time, but it's more than a band, it's a person, it's an individual, very much an individual, and very much a rock star. It's a name that some of you will go, no, I'm not really familiar with that, but I can tell you that this person has been in everyone's living room at some point. Your mom, grandma, or everybody, member of your family will go, oh yeah, him. He probably does know your mom, and he got around a bit in his youth, so who knows? But why is this out? Why have I got like a compilation album from 1973 called Purple People, on which was a Vanity label offshoot for Deep Purple? And it's because this is the record that introduced me to the band I am going to talk about. Deep Purple on here, well, they would be, wouldn't they? And I bought it because it had When a Blind Man Cries on it, which was a unavailable B-side, not available on the album Machine Head. But it had this track on it, produced by Ian Pace, called Rolling With My Baby, by a band called Silverhead. And that sent me down a rabbit hole, which led me to a discovery of a whole new world of music and musical characters. Because the band that I'm going to talk about and the box set that I'm going to review is this, Silverhead. More Than Your Mouth Can Hold. Bear with me, for those of you thinking that sounds a bit Spinal Tap. And this is 1972, when this, well, 73 when that appeared. This is the complete recordings on Purple Records. 6 CDs and a wonderful little clamshell box. You can just about see here, just had a shot. And here is one of the 4 set albums. Now, Silverhead was seen as a bit of a glam band in a way. Well, that's what I've read. It's not really what I thought at the time. Glam to me then was Slade, T-Rex, Sweet. Primarily, I didn't really bring Bowie into that, I don't think, at that stage. But the thing is, with all the glam bands, they kind of look like blokes that are dressed up and put makeup on. Like, I could imagine Slade having a pint of mild and a Nuki Brown, and taking their kind of top hat off with all the discs on, or you know, Dave Hill probably, I imagine, having a bag of chips or something. And Sweet, you know, similar. Mark Bolan, he looked like he'd been dressed by his girlfriend. I'm a huge fan of Mark Bolan, but I'm just saying how it came across, you know, as my world was enveloped by Roxy Music and Chicory Tip and all these sorts of bands. But Silverhead were different. They didn't look like anyone else had dressed them. They just looked like something from another planet, really. Now, the thing is, with Michael DeBar, the singer and vocalist and personality, entertainer of this band, is what template were this band following? This is the thing. There's a documentary called Who Do You Want Me to Be, which I watched recently. It's fantastic. It's probably one of the best musical documentaries I've ever seen. They only really do musical documentaries if the artist has sadly passed away, or they had a life so outrageous they think it will make good TV. Well, Michael is very much alive, and he has a life that would make very, very good TV. It's absolutely fantastic. And Michael DeBar is an actor, and started off as an actor. And this is why I say, even if you don't know the name, he has appeared in your living room at some point. Miami Vice, Cagney and Lacey, The Rockford Files, starting off with the Z Cars, Poison Ivy, Mulholland Drive, MacGyver, where he was in that for loads of episodes, playing a criminal called Murdoch. He's been in Suits. He probably knows Megan. Frasier, Jag, as I say, Mulholland Drive, The Pretender, Marker, and he was also in a film, To Sir With Love. He's also done the Batman animation series. He's everywhere. Now, the reason I mention this is because I wonder if this gave him an advantage that no other lead singer could possibly have. Because when we were watching the film and looking at all the stuff, Sue, my wife, said, "Didn't half remind me of David Lee Roth in some of the way he shows his shapes and the poses and everything." He does. But David Lee Roth didn't appear until 1978, and this is 1972. Musically, the band are there's a bit of Aerosmith in there. There is a lot of Aerosmith in there, it feels like. But again, this is 1972. New York Dolls, this is 1972. Motley Crue, the whole way that Motley Crue came about and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that was the mid-80s. But Silverhead was 1972. I said the box set is called More Than Your Mouth Can Hold. Rock and roll innuendo. In the 80s it was everywhere, wasn't it? With Kiss saying "You Make Me Rock Hard." You put the X in sex, and Bullet Boys with "Smooth Up In You" and "Danger, Danger." You got to just go on, couldn't I? This was 1972. Paul Stanley, great frontman. Steve Tyler, all the frontmen I think of, they're all American, they're all flamboyant, all the rest of it. This is the UK in 1972. I think I found Silverhead because there's a couple of videos out there you can watch on YouTube for Rolling With My Baby and 16 and Savaged. A bit scary because you could tell that that they meant it. No, they meant it. And whether, Mr. Debar was playing a character to become the ultimate frontman or rock star, I don't know, but it certainly worked. The photographs that I'm bringing up on screen now, you just look at these and you think, wow, how ahead of his time was this guy? Fashion-wise, this statement, what he was doing, fantastic. He had everything going for him. And the other thing that I want to say before I even show you the box is this band should have been huge. Absolutely huge. I sometimes wonder, because as you know, I dabbled with the music business myself, and I've been in business a lot, is that I know in the 80s, a particular record label I knew very well signed the band they wanted to really push and look after and cultivate, and also signed up 2 or 3 other bands either side of them to stop other labels signing them up, so they didn't have so much competition. And those other bands were allowed to make records, but they were never really distributed properly. They were never given any promotion, and those bands were kind of stuck in a cul-de-sac until the label basically let them go. And that happened a lot because it's when you run a business, you can put that off against tax losses and save you paying as much tax on the main thing you want to promote. I say that because it seems incredible that a band that released, as I'm just finding them here, this album, it's superb. It's absolutely brilliant. It starts off straight out the traps with some great rock and roll, but it's varied. This is the other thing, which I think later on, when rock found its probably too many feet, it lost its light and shade. It lost its kind of sense of dynamics and emotion and passion, and not passion, but it became very narrow. And fans followed in behind that, and it became a kind of groove that you couldn't break out of. I think Silverhead, Michael DeBar, Nigel Harrison went on to become bass player in Blondie. This is such a varied album. I vary. Me personally, is this the best one? It is at the moment because I've been playing it the most. But 16 and Savaged, which is actually the first one I bought, is equally as good. It's more varied. You've got Robbie Blunt, who joined the band because Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin pushed him down from the train from Kidderminster and says, "You've got to audition for this band, they're going to be massive." They had friends everywhere. It was just obvious. And they were working on their 3rd album when they were pulled into the offices of Purple Records and told, "That's it, it's over. We're pulling the plug. There's not going to be no more." Which seems such a strange thing to do, because on this compilation, outside of Deep Purple, Silverhead were the most obvious band who were going to make the label some money. But they didn't, and luckily they've been supporting Nazareth, who recorded one of the concerts, and they taped them as well, and at least we got this fantastic live album at the Rainbow, and the BBC stuff tugged on the end. So, you know, some fantastic music. Anyway, I want to talk about this in a bit more depth and talk about what I think of the box set. So I think for those of you who are just thinking, what's in it? I'll show you now the box set itself. So here we go. Silverhead, More Than Your Mouth Can Hold, the complete recordings from 1972 to 1974. Another high gloss cherry red box set on the purple imprint, Purple Records. I remember buying Purple Records back in the day, and it's got 6 CDs, so 6 albums. Everything you could ever want from Silverhead is in this one compact little box. I am going to point out a couple of things though, just for absolute collectors and fans of the band. It comes with a booklet, which I'll come to last of all. The albums themselves are all in single sleeves. Yes, I would have liked them to have duplicated the gatefolds like Esoteric do sometimes, but they haven't this time. But that's the first album, Silverhead, 16 and Savaged. Live at the Rainbow, London. Show Me Everything. And this is what a lot of collectors will be going for, as these have been unreleased. Great picture of the band on the back of that one. Berlin Backlash, 7th of February 1973. And Live in Japan. And I'll touch on my summary when I finish the unboxing. The booklet features 2 essays from Malcolm Dome from 2016, and they're basically the whole band are involved in these interviews, which were done, to say, a few years ago. It lists all the tracks, the bonus tracks, etc., which I'll come to later on. So these reviews are in full, but those of you who bought the previous releases may recognise some of the words, which I'm going to come to in a moment. So this goes through the tracks of the album and the bonus tracks, etc. So James Dean, which is great, unreleased bonus track. That's the gatefold sleeve from 16 and Savaged. And again, full text and reviews from Malcolm Dome, May 2016. Live at the Rainbow, 1973, with the BBC in concert, Paris Theatre from August 31st, 73. And then we have our second essay, again from Malcolm Dome, and again from 2016. So some of you might be wondering what's going on. And I'll explain in a moment. And Show Me Everything, CD4, Berlin Backlash, and Live in Japan. Now it says here, every effort has been made to produce the best possible audio, and limitations in some of the material used for the bonus tracks means that the quality may not be up to quality standards you might expect. All tracks have been included with historical importance. And I'll touch on that as well in a moment. Now, the reason why I talked about the essay, meaning you might recognise it, is Cherry Red also released the first 3 albums separately in 2016, which is why Malcolm Dome's essay from May 2016 are included. Now, including these, just in case some of you may be interested in these as well. Why would you be? Well, the booklets, yes, the essay is the same. So what they've done in this booklet is taken the essays from each of these 3 releases and poured it into this little booklet, word for word, and just changed the kind of images that are used. Because the images that are used in these separate CDs, there's more of them, as you can see here. So there's more memorabilia in these booklets, as each one is obviously dedicated to a specific album. And you know, the photographs are fantastic. They really are. The essay is exactly the same. Here they've duplicated the inside gatefold sleeve of the first album, which is superb, and some Japanese only release covers as well for the singles, some great live pictures, and again memorabilia. And I just love that picture there, taken obviously I presume somewhere in London, and some great memorabilia. So that's the first one, and the second one is 16 and Savaged. And as before, you've got more pictures. The essay is the same as the new box set. Japanese press release there for the second album, the gatefold sleeve, which is reproduced in the new booklet as well. Not so many pictures in this one, and all the mastering of these 3 2016 issues were done by Andy Pierce, who did a very, very good job. And how does that compare to the new one? I shall reveal all as I place these back to back. And then the third one, the live one, same essay, some pictures, and this is how it happened. They were supporting Nazareth, Nazareth were recorded, and they just kept the tapes rolling for Silverhead. So they almost got a live album by accident. And then you've got the actual Japanese tour pages, etc., and some great pictures as well from this period. So that's those 3. So, what are my thoughts? I shall let you know now. So that is a look inside the box set for More Than Your Mouth Can Hold, and also a trip back to 2016 when the 3 albums that have been out before were released. And as you can see, there's a choice here, because I know that if you're a Silverhead fan, you've got those. So you're buying this for the other 3 discs. And if you haven't got those, you're now thinking, do I need them? Will it just give me some extra pictures? What's the remastering like? Andy Pierce did these. So what is the difference between that and this new edition? The new remastering has been done excellently by Tony Dixon at Masterpiece. And I played these back to back through my system. And it's very close. It's very close. I would say on 16 and Savaged that the new set just marginally pips the old ones at the post. Andy Pierce is a great guy for doing masterings. I've always rated him very highly. There is absolutely nothing wrong with these other sets. So if you go and buy those from Cherry Red, it's the same difference, isn't it, really? You're just deciding whether to buy the live stuff. Of course, a true someone like me who really loves Silverhead, you've gone and bought them both. But this one, the remastering on the new set, has the edge in that there's a bit more warmth with the drums and bass, and a bit more attack on the guitars, but it's marginal. But the real reason you want to know is, what do I think of the live stuff? Well, obviously the official live album, which it's official in that it was recorded professionally, is every home should have one. But these other 3, Show Me Everything. Some of the tracks off here were available as bonus tracks on the first 3 releases, so they have all been moved around a bit. Has this fantastic live picture of the band. This is closer to bootleg, so it would take a time for your ears to adjust. You know what it's like when you listen to bootlegs. The first 2 tracks you're not quite sure. Sometimes they sound better on smaller speakers, not on a big system. Maybe you're playing it through your Blu-ray speaker or something. This one takes a bit of a while to get adjusted, but it is an historic performance. The same for the Berlin Backlash one. This one, however, is different. Yes, it's still a very rough and raw recording, but your ears will adjust to this so much more quickly. Live in Japan, this is superb, I think. Yes, it's not an official live recording, but it's exciting. It gives you a window into what must have been like to watch Silverhead live. I mean, you've got all the pictures, as you see, of the band. I mean, they were just the most photogenic rock band ever, weren't they? I think that's the amazing thing. I touched on this before I showed you the unboxing, is that, you know, British rock bands, you know, Purple, Wishbone Ash, King Crimson, yes, Genesis, Black Sabbath, did I mention Led Zeppelin? You know, all of Jethro Tull. Everyone had a unique image, but the image that Silverhead had was like something the Americans hadn't yet invented. Although they, you know, all these, you know, bands like Poison and Rat and everything, which was a decade and more away, Silverhead were already there. But as I said, it all came to an end, and it really was a strange thing that they didn't make that third album, because it would have broke them through, really. And for a lot of people, it could be where you said goodbye to Michael Debar. But because a lot of bands of this time, and I've featured lots of box sets on this channel, they released some albums, they didn't work, they got dropped by the label, and they were gone. In fact, I did one the other day, didn't I? A band called Hard Meat disappeared. And there's sometimes said in the music business, you only have one bite at the apple. Michael Des Barres had a whole orchard of apples to bite into. His career is just unbelievable, of a man that almost quite does it, but doesn't quite do it. From here, literally just a few years later, after he moved to America, because obviously he looked like he should live in Hollywood, was rubbing shoulders with Led Zeppelin and in a band called Detective, and signed to Swan Song Records, another band that should have been absolutely enormous. And two of their albums are also available from Cherry Red. So I'm trying to keep this all themed, so you only have to go to one website to buy them all. Apart from the first one, which is on Rock Candy, which is really good. But my favourite, which isn't the band's, but it is mine, is this one, which is It Takes One to Know One. And why is that? It's because of Michael's voice. On Are You Talking to Me? It's like something from, The Sopranos, isn't it? But again, years earlier. But it's absolutely authoritative, passionate. Are you talking to me? But don't, it's just a great vibe. It's such a great vibe. But the track that does it for me is a ballad, and it's Something Beautiful, which I think Michael himself thinks it's like his voice on this. But I think it showed a path to where he could go, because not only was he a front man who was light years ahead of any other front men, he was at the birth of the invention of front men in rock and roll, and that's the other thing I've just got to touch on this, because I am so sure the way that Michael Des Barres this is the way he delivers his lines, and he clips the last word of some of the lines that he sings. That's being copied everywhere. I'm not going to list all the bands, but so many bands of what it's like when people look for you go to be influenced by not the obvious. Well, you kind of did. You did then. Whereas now people say, I was influenced by Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin. But so many vocalists must have looked at the photographs and videos of Michael Des Barres and thought, that's good, that looks cool, I'm going to have a go at that. Because his influence is everywhere. I can't look at Paul Stanley or Lee Roth or Motley Crue, really, or the way that, the stagecraft and the way that vocal lines are delivered in rock, and think, you've been listening to Silverhead. You really have. And, so where was I? Oh, yes, Detective. I've gone back to that. So what I was saying is that Michael's voice, because these albums are rock albums, but they're so varied. And I think that's the thing about Detective. Consider on Swan Song, there was a lot of Zeppelin in the drums. Apparently they spent a small fortune on trying to get a drum sound. They didn't need to, and they sounded fine as they were. But Michael's voice on Something Beautiful should have opened yet another doorway to stardom. But it didn't, and the band imploded. And then after that, he went to Chequered Past, which also featured Nigel Harrison from Blondie and Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols. Now, I know that Chequered Past might be coming out later on. I gotta hope so. And I know the band themselves feel like they picked the wrong producer, but I don't agree. I thought when I heard that album for the first time, I just thought it was spectacular. But again, lots of party substances, and it all came crashing to an end. But the thing when I started to start this video was about the fact that Michael is an actor, went to acting school, and that's how he started. And I wonder whether that gave him this kind of, like, as I said at the start, scary confidence. When you look at the videos and these pictures, this is a man that just stares out at the world through a lens, saying, look at me. And you just think, this guy, does he get nervous? Does he ever think, I'm not sure what people are going to think? because in 1985, do you remember the band The Power Station with Robert Palmer on vocals? Get It On, great hit in the UK. Well, when they came to tour, Robert Palmer said, I don't want to do that. And they had something like 10 days to find a vocalist for the tour. And they were also going to appear at Live Aid in front of 2 billion people within 10 days. Who were they going to call? Now, Chequered Past had supported Duran Duran at this time, so the Duran Duran boys had probably seen them. But they must have thought, when their manager said, I think Michael DeBar might be able to do this, that they must have thought, I don't know, can he? You know, it's a big call, he's older than us. And if you, after watching this video, go and find that on YouTube, find Live Aid with the Power Station playing, and just watch as Don Johnston, because Michael DeBar knows everybody. He knows everybody. As I said, he knows your mum. But he knows everybody in Hollywood. And introduced to the band 2 billion people. He's had 10 days to learn the songs. He bounds onto that stage like Freddie Mercury was doing on the opposite side of the Atlantic with Queen. They may not have had the same songs, but the level of confidence and entertainment X factor was like, just watch him. You just think, wow. Because I mean, all of us in life sometimes be given a pot of gold, and so you've got this, and you think, oh wow, this is really exciting, and you go, oh my god, I don't know if I can do this. So many people of us, normal humans, have imposter syndrome or whatever. I don't think Michael had any of that. I'm absolutely sure he did not. He just hit the stage running. He also, through his life and his career, has just literally pivoted to whichever direction he felt was the right thing to do. And I have total admiration for him for this, because I've always been taught, fail quickly and move on. And I've seen so many rock stars, I've read about them, and where things have gone wrong and they've just never escaped from it. I was approached by somebody who was a big band that I was a huge fan of for an interview a few months ago, and I was going to do it, and then I found out that they only wanted to talk about something that happened in 1976 and how everything had gone wrong, and they felt like they'd been betrayed and ripped off, and they'd never done anything since that point because they hadn't been able to move on from it. Michael DeBar has had success. He's also had success taken off him. He's had things go wrong, and he just pivots and bounces back in a different direction, dusts himself down, and off he goes again. And that's why I do recommend you watch the documentary on him, because it's warts and all. It talks about the lows as well as the highs, and he was high for over a decade, and how he pulled himself together in the 80s. And of course, the other thing, as me and Sue were watching the documentary, is the song Obsession. Do you remember that song, the pop song Obsession? It was like a massive hit. He wrote that. He wrote that with Holly Knight, who, of course, Holly Knight, Diane Warren were two of the best songwriters of rock songs that you didn't realise they'd written during that decade. And so, he's had a fantastic career. And as I say, visit his website, which is in the description tag now. Watch that film and buy the box set. You will enjoy this. I talk a lot about rock music on this channel. I talk a lot about different genres of music. And I do think, we are at a position in human history, or the history of rock and roll, or popular music, where so much is available now. And yes, you can stream it and just find a playlist and look at a few pictures. But I think having a tangible thing like this, and yeah, you might decide to go for the CDs. I did. It just brings you closer. It brings you closer to the band, and I think in this particular case, because this is a unique band, is it not? And a unique bunch of musicians. Is that watch that documentary, and I think you'll really, really enjoy it. Visit the website. And the other thing I forgot to mention, I did make a note of this, because I wanted to bring this completely up to date. In fact, I'll read this out. Executive producer and CEO Peter Spire said, Michael, unlike nondescript blah blah blah, has attacked life with ferocity and flamboyance. Yep. He has done everything and been everywhere. Yep. Yet he still embraces life with the enthusiasm of a teenager, which is magnificently captured in this biography of Who Do You Want Me to Be? And that's the other thing that I loved about rediscovering this music. And it was listening to the music in this box set that sent me off in every direction to find out what Michael Debar had been up to since. Is that because many rock stars of a certain vintage reach a point where they start to slow down, or they start to think, I'm going to pull from the limelight, etc. This guy is just full of ideas all the time. He's in his mid-70s. He looks fantastic. He's still doing it, and he's signed to Little Steven's record label. Little Steven from The Sopranos, and also Bruce Springsteen. And he's also the host on the Underground Garage, which is Sirius XM radio channel 21, where he talks about bands, rock bands and soul bands he's loved over the years. It's absolutely fantastic. You can find that online as well and give it a listen. But absolute amazing artist. So where should you start? Well, I've already made that kind of clear. Here. Silverhead. More Than Your Mouth Can Hold, 6 CD box set, out now on Cherryhead Records via Purple Records. So thank you for watching. It's been a long one, this, hasn't it? But I just feel it had to be said. I just love this stuff so much. So thank you for watching. Stay safe. Keep playing that music. Remember, music is the healer. It is the doctor. Thank you to all my patrons and supporters, and especially Andy, Clive, Chris and Yogi, and all of you out there. I shall see you very soon on my next video.